7 recap show. I'm joined by Sim Fuchs of the Green Bay Packer organization and Ellie Siegel of the Seattle Seahawks organization. Gentlemen, I appreciate you having me in tonight. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for coming to Lakewood. We welcome you with open arms.
I'm glad to be here.
By Tom's way,
Looking forward. Ellie, I'll let you start. Why don't you give a little bit of an opening introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background in football, in Lakewood, who you are. Let the people know.
Absolutely. Football. Where did we start with football? I didn't start playing in football leagues until the LBA started the league a couple of years ago. You know Shimon Friedman?
Yeah.
A lot of the guys played in the LBA softball, same guy. He had Saturday Night League a couple of years ago. So I played there. I played in the, there's a league in the Aviator in Brooklyn. Played there a little bit. There's also a couple tournaments. I know there's one that Sam Sutton made a few years ago. Meyer Casson.
They played in that one?
Meyer Casson was there, yeah. This league has been a lot of fun so far, honestly. It's really, the fact that it's a draft league makes a tremendous difference. Every other league I've been in was flagged to bring your own team. So you end up having a bunch of superstar teams, a bunch of washed up older teams where they used to be good, but this league with the draft league has been really competitive. I really think any given team can be any given team on any Sunday, for real. I really believe that. The Vikings, who were just eliminated, they were a tough team. I know it wasn't a close score, but there was a couple times in that game totally could have changed. A big flag grab by Rocky or something like that could have switched the entire game.
I would agree with that about the Raiders.
Wow.
We'll get into that. So Sim, first off, why don't you let the people know how you pronounce your name so that they don't get it wrong?
Yes, it's Fuchs with a U, or you can put 3 O's there.
So why don't you give a little bit of background on your football experience for the people at home who do not know?
So we've been balling since day one. Did that tackle league in Israel.
You guys are the same age? You were there together, or?
He's a year younger.
I had a rough injury and tackle there, took a little break, came back last year. Now we're back at it, yeah.
So we're happy to have some Lakewood representatives in the league showing their talent. I mean, 2 of the premier players in the league coming from Lakewood just tells you the type of talent we have in the league. Let's get into the Week 7 recaps. We'll start with, Sim, we'll start with your game. I guess, not close as everyone expected. Of course, the Packers beating the Raiders 27-0. Ike Mavor was great in this game. Sim, you had a big day. I know the Packers handled business. They did what they were supposed to do. But, Ellie, what do you see out of the Packers moving forward?
That's a great question. The Packers are what I would consider the most complete roster in the league overall, if you take into account everything. Their main challenge
They're
is
playing with, I think, 2 third-rounders, 3 seventh-rounders. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the draft. We're not going to talk about how the draft
rounder on our team.
But the Packers, what the main challenge they present to you and to the league as a whole is that they're showing you a different look than the rest of the league is showing you. Typically, we all lined up, whether it was in the backyard football, Friday afternoon, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's in man coverage with the safety in the middle of the field, either covering deep or covering tight end. What the Packers do is they present a different challenge. They present to you different zones, and I know there's a different combination of the zones that they play. I don't know if I should put it out there based on my film study. But I've noticed live and on tape at least 3 different zones that they play. And what it does as a QB is it makes you think a little bit, as opposed to just, let me get my X receiver open, run this route, when he's open I throw it. Now you can't do it because he might run past the first defender, but he's running straight into somebody else's zone.
Right there.
And that alone, what the Packers have done, besides for the personnel factor, where they have Sim Fuchs and Zach and Citron back, who are incredible playing the deep safety position. Both of them have a tremendous amount. No, absolutely.
I think they're 1 and 2 in interceptions, pretty much.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been that zone that people haven't read. So what I think the big challenge for them is going to be the second time around. When someone faces this zone again, and they know what happened the last time, now do they exploit the holes in that zone, and do they make it look like a silly defensive play? That's really what their challenge is going to be in the playoffs, and it remains to be seen.
It's a great point you make, because if the Packers are going to advance in this playoffs, they're going to have to beat teams that they already beat, and teams that have struggled against them and have time to adapt. The Steelers, we all expected them to win that game, but the Packers came out strong. If they win, they're going to be playing the Seahawks, another team that they defeated. So the Packers are going to have a tough time getting around that. I know Sim has been great defensively all year. Some say he was snubbed from the Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolute snub. 8 picks. And man had 8 interceptions. How could that not be a snub?
We can argue that back and forth all day, but I want to talk about another player on this team, Ellie and Sim. That's Charlie Saruya. We talk about 7th round picks. Arguably, you were a steal of the draft. Maybe he was the steal of the draft. You know what I mean? It seems like the Packers have a lot of steals. They didn't necessarily draft all of them. We know that they traded for you and Ralph Hannon, but Charlie Saruya, what does he bring to this team?
Everything, whether it's blocking, catching, rolling out, tight ends, defense, he's got it all. He legit brought a lot to this team. Brings it in every game, puts it all out there on the field.
Do you think that Charlie Saruya should have gone? Where would you put Charlie Saruya in this draft? I know you thought about where guys should have gone. You looked at the draft, I'm sure 100 times. Where do you think he should have went in this draft? Do you think he fell too far?
I'm talking to you. I absolutely think he fell too far. As far as where he should have gone, like I mentioned to you earlier off camera, I always like to play with someone before I fully can know what their value is. But from playing against him and just from seeing him on the highlight reels and live a couple of these games, he seems to be that Swiss Army knife. He's really doing a little bit of everything. Against me personally, he played pass rusher, he played middle linebacker, he caught the game-winning touchdown, he played tight end, he played receiver. Just a little bit of everything, and he also seems to have a great attitude that his team really rallies around. If I was just guessing, I'd put him somewhere in the 3rd round. But again, like I said, I usually like to play with
you got to
someone.
play with someone to know how they are. Let's talk about someone else in this draft who went in the 7th round. Gentleman sitting here. Now, we know that you were involved in the Seattle's draft boardroom once Marty selected you 15th overall.
I thought we discussed this wouldn't be on camera.
15th overall, you get picked. That means you had, let's say, 40 picks in between the time that you were selected, that Mr. Sim was selected. Was there no communication to Marty at all? At no point draft this guy at all costs? I mean, what was going on between you and Marty there?
Wow, this is I don't know how to answer this question without undermining anyone else on my team. All I'll say is I would have loved to have Sim Fuchs as a teammate. I think the Packers could attest to that. I think it would be dangerous what we would have done with Sim on our roster. I mean, that's tough to stop Marty plus Sim. I mean, that's tough. I would have loved to have him. The draft didn't shape out that way for whatever reason.
Give us the headlines. Give us the headline.
Roster, but I would have loved to play with Sim. I would have absolutely loved. Even you can ask anyone at the trade deadline. I was borderline offering my left nut to get Sim. So I was doing whatever it took. It didn't work out. I tried everything I can, and hopefully next year me and Sim will be teammates.
So Sim, you guys beat the Raiders. I want to take a moment to shout out Jackie Sutton and Rocky Juris. Raiders obviously were eliminated prior to the week, and their team decided not to play. For whatever reason, and Jackie was on the phone with me and other guys for hours trying to put a team together. I know that they didn't perform so well, but just have to give him and Rocky a shout out just for coming and trying to compete and make this league as competitive as
possible.
possible.
I can just say Rocky played amazing for our team this week. He made a couple incredible momentum-changing plays, like really in big moments. That deep ball up the right sideline where he got the sack right before. Mm-hmm. He had on 4th down, he had a tackle of Tamam where he was rolling to the opposite side of where he lined up. Made a couple of huge plays. So I'll agree with your shout out.
But so the Raiders season ends at 1-6. Their win was kind of sketchy when the Vikings were all away, but their season wraps up. Packers, however, moved to the postseason. So now this is where things got tricky. The Packers won their game, and we know, there was a lot of, basically no one was locked into a playoff spot. We didn't know where anyone was going to end up. And I spoke to Ike Mavora post-game, and he said, I don't care about the win. I just want that bye. And he knew that he had to worry about the Vikings-Seahawks game. Now, I'll get to the Vikings-Seahawks game later because that's the game of the week I want to talk about. But, the Packers, it was really like tell me what was going on prior to the week in terms of like where everyone was. It we want the bye, we just want to win, take care of business, or like,
I knew we just needed a W. came in, we got that W. Now, I knew that we had Siegel that we had to lose. I know Siegel for a couple of years now, watching him play football. I knew that there was no chance he was losing that game.
I don't know about no chance. I appreciate that.
Against the Vikings, I wasn't.
Betting public
I watched one drive and I left. I'm like, okay, we don't have to buy. We'll be back next week.
So you were sort of, content with we're gonna win and be in the playoffs and play next week.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't need to buy. We'll be all right.
No, I definitely wanted to buy. I just didn't think we were gonna get it. Once I found out that we needed Siegel to lose.
Gotcha. Okay, so that recaps Packers Raiders. Let's move on to the next matchup on the 9 o'clock slate: the Dolphins and Cardinals. I know both you guys are scared of these teams. I think if I know Siegel, I know he's scared. He won't admit it though.
Okay.
So both these teams were really short-handed this week. Unfortunate news: Robert's out for the year. I'm not sure who they're picking up this week. But Robert was out, Saul was out.
It's like an automatic approval. Sub for Robert, you're approved.
I think they asked for like Randy Moss
Right.
or someone like that. I think it will be approved. But Saul was out, Albert Cohen was out. On the other side,
Who played QB for them? I noticed it.
so the Dolphins had a kid, Isaac Gindi.
Not
who's
really.
Not only he's like 11th to 12th grade. Future quarterback in this league, I can attest to that for sure. I mean, just watching him this game, it seemed
Right.
like
He looked pretty good.
he looks very good. The Cardinals on their end, Torque was out. Torque is out for the year, so they didn't have him. I know who else. Eddie Turner was missing. Former Player of the Week, Eddie Turner. So the Cardinals were also shorthanded. A very all over the place game filled with subs in a game that was probably one of the two most important games of the day. I mean, lose and you could be in the playing game, win and you have your spot clinched, no worries about it. And teams didn't come, they had a bachelor party, whatever they had, so I can't blame them. Whatever they have as priorities, they do. But it's really hard to say a lot from this game. Sim, which team, the Cardinals or the Dolphins? You're not playing either of these teams, so you can answer this question. The Cardinals or the Dolphins, are you more scared of?
Well, we did get blown out by the Dolphins, and we beat the Cardinals. So I would definitely say the Dolphins a little bit more. But they're both pretty evenly matched and both tough teams to face.
And Ellie?
I really like both of these teams. I don't know what you were alluding to before. I would love to face either any night.
I'm just trying to see if I can get something out of you.
I would love to face either one of those teams. We played against both of them. Typically, I would usually default to who I think is a higher rated quarterback. They're both good, but I think Joe G is, he's a dual threat with the run and the pass. I would say overall, when it comes to playoff football, typically, you have to default to the top quarterbacks.
Right. You don't want to face Brady. You'd rather face a guy.
Usually, like all things are equal, right? And they both have similar. I mean, I would say the Dolphins actually might have a more well-rounded roster. One person I'll shout out, their defensive lineman, Albert Cohen.
On the Dolphins?
Yes.
Yes.
Really good player. When we played against them, I noticed he did some damage, both sides of the ball. So they definitely have a well-rounded roster, but I think when it comes to the playoffs, it comes to the QBs calling up good plays, executing, not being scared of the moment. Like they've done this before. I know Joe G has played before. So
yeah, Joe G's been doing it forever. Saul, on the other hand, was part of a poor Miami Dolphins team last year that didn't make the playoffs. So this is his first postseason start. Maybe some nerves there.
Losing his top threat also.
Losing his top,
everything.
Tough blow. I mean, he'll get a sub, but they don't have the chemistry. They haven't worked.
His sub is up for the number one pick or whatever should be.
It'll be for
top 3 pick.
Equivalent to Robert, exactly.
Right.
So let's talk about the game a little bit. I know there's a lot of subs. Joe G and the Cardinals started out fast. They went up 20-6 at halftime. Everyone seemed to think that the game was over, that the Cardinals were going to win and be in. And then things sort of, went south for them really quick. Kaz had a big day for the Dolphins. Right. One of the two or three lone Dolphins who showed up. Ruby Shahabar also showed up. He had a big day. That was their team pretty much. It was Ruby and Kaz. I'm sorry if I'm missing someone else. Which part of should we call it the offensive line, defensive line of Abe Haber, Michael Saban versus Albert Cohen and Mustachi? I don't know if either of you faced him, but which one of those two are you more concerned about?
concerned and like
Concerned that you'd be more scared facing them.
like I said, Albert Cohen is. I think I've now faced all the teams in the league, right?
Yep.
From all the defensive linemen that I faced, he seems to be the most well-rounded. If I'm just, between everyone that I faced, the combination of size, speed, strength. Because a lot of people, like for example, I'm not going to call out names.
You can call out names.
There are people that are big and strong, but they don't necessarily have the speed to keep up with a mobile quarterback, and therefore they can get pressure all day, but they're never really, even if they're close, they're never really close to getting that sack or really bothering that QB.
Right. The QB knows they can get away, they can
Right.
escape.
So like, for example, for me, right, if I'm facing someone who I know that I can last minute step away from, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just with the corner of my eye, I see him, and like last minute, if I need to step away, I know I can do that. Against someone like Albert, he has that combination of the size plus the speed. So you really have to almost game plan around him and think about that when you're calling plays. And for that reason, I would say that their line has the edge.
Sim, I know that you're not really on the line, so you don't really care about this that much, but
I don't even know who's on each other.
Sim just shows up to play.
Soon
I don't care.
gets 8 interceptions. Lets everyone know he should have been a first rounder, and that's it.
Okay, so not really much to talk about. Like I said, shout out to Ruby Shahabar. He helped his team come back. He had a touchdown, an extra point conversion.
That defensive play he made on the highlight reel.
The fourth, so that great. I'm happy you brought that up. So fourth down, just to give everyone a bit better picture. Fourth down for the Cardinals. They choose to go for it from about their own 40, the opposing 48. So they got to go pretty much the whole field
How did someone get that
on fourth down, and Stevie Sackett gets open somehow, and Joe G crosses his body, tries to launch it. It seemed like he didn't get enough on it because he was going the opposite way, and Ruby comes across the field, dives, blocks the ball away. Season saving play for the Dolphins.
That would have lost the game for them if they converted there?
If they get, it seemed like it would have been a touchdown if he didn't make that play.
Right.
So they would have went up by a touchdown, and Dolphins would have had to respond. It would have been a flip situation with the minute left. So big. I'm happy you said that. And Ruby's one of those guys who's very hard on himself. So it's a big play he made, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. On the flip side, Joe G is he's going to be dangerous, like you said. Come playoff time, anything can happen. It's one game, one and done. One missed tackle, one interception. That's it. Your season's over that quickly. So in my opinion, I'm not concerned about Joe G. I think throw the record out the door. Playoff time. They're going to play the Dolphins again. We'll talk about that later. But not concerned about the Cardinals losing this game. They got it anyway, so it doesn't really affect them, and they wouldn't have got a bye with a win. So this game ends up being meaningless for them. So they go back to the drawing board. And Dolphins, no Robert. You got to find the guy who's going to make the plays, and if not, their season's going to be over really, really quick. Let's talk about the other sub game, Browns and Steelers. This game was for the bye. Winner got the bye. Loser needed help to get the bye. With the Raiders losing and the Packers winning, it basically meant winner got the bye, loser did not. Both were in the playoffs, so that was already locked up. But again, one of those situations where neither team showed up. Zach had COVID, he was out. A.B. Shrew was on a bachelor party, like Zach on the bachelor party. Charles Sackett had something else he missed. Who else was there?
Charles Sackett wasn't on the bachelor party?
Charles Sackett was on the bachelor party. He came back Saturday night. He had his sister-in-law's engagement party Sunday that he had to come back for.
So he wasn't snubbed from his brother's bachelor party?
He was not snubbed. No, they did allow him. His wife, his
snubbed.
wife wasn't happy about it. His wife wasn't happy about him going. Just to let you guys know, he is my brother-in-law. That's why I'm allowed to say this. Charles Sackett is my brother-in-law. That's why all the jokes about.
You married your sister?
Married my sister.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah. That's why I was making the jokes. I knew you guys had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. It was right over our head.
So basically the Browns and Steelers were playing without their guy Sammy Ashkenazi, also on the bachelor party.
Oh, wow.
So two teams playing without their guys, and I guess give the credit to the Browns because they won the game and the Steelers didn't, and the game wasn't close. Danny Mastery had a big day as one of the lone Browns. Sammy Sackett had a big day. You saw on the highlight reel he had a few big time sacks. Steelers really just couldn't get anything going with Sammy Dayan. Their quarterback was a mess.
Who played QB for them?
So they had Abraham Saria.
In the league or not?
Not in the league. Who they picked up? I guess, a good quarterback, but
no chemistry.
no chemistry, exactly. And then on the flip side, the Browns had Zachy Citron playing quarterback. You know Zachy very well. I don't know if you knew he could play quarterback, but his offense put up 41 points in maybe a half and like one half and then a half of a half, because they didn't even finish this game. It was not even that close.
It seemed like no one covered the tight end on that play, for the Steelers. They just let him go every time.
It was an ugly game. A.B. Street wasn't happy. He couldn't believe it. He said, "There's no way that my team lost by 35 points."
Was this quote coming from Vegas?
They were in Phoenix.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, not in
I don't
Vegas.
think he gets an opinion from Phoenix.
You think
if you're not going to show up for your bye or regular playoff game kind of week, then you don't get a quote. Am I wrong?
You're entitled to your opinion.
I don't think you get a quote. I mean, you're the captain of your team. This game decides whether or not you get a bye week.
Correct.
I think
he took his bye week early.
I think he would tell you himself. I think he would tell you. Hey, you're right. I think he would tell you himself that that's not really elite captain behavior right there.
He is on the ballot for captain of the year though. So I can tell you he didn't get your vote.
If Sim Fuchs is not on the ballot for defensive player of the year, I don't want to hear about these captain of the year ballots. Marty's got to be there though. No, I mean Marty's just who doesn't like Marty? Anyone
talking about for what?
Captain of the year. Marty's just like that glue that keeps everyone together on the team.
Morris got to get that for that trade that he made.
Morris didn't make a good
Well, I give Morris taking credit for that trade.
I give Morris taking credit.
Everyone on that team took credit. Charlie Stewart came on last week and took credit. And everyone wants to be part of something good, and they always blame it on the guy when it goes something wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
if Sim turned into a bust, I would have had nothing to do with it.
But I can't confirm who had anything to do with it. Obviously, we know it was a great trade. But getting back to what we're talking about here. So now the Browns have the bye. Sam, you face the Steelers, so I won't ask you your opinion on them. I'll save that for later. Ellie, you played both these teams, obviously. You defeated both of these teams pretty much comfortably. The Browns game was a little closer than the scoreboard was a little closer than the game, it felt, with a garbage touchdown. Which team deserved the bye here?
I think I'm going to go back to what I just said a minute ago. I mean, the fact that the truth is neither captain showed up. Neither captain showed up for the game that determined the bye. So I'm not going to go like that. But I think in this kind of league where it's a draft league, the record does really speak for itself, because any team can be any given team, and the record does. You are what, like they say, you are what it says you are. So it was a team full of subs, which is a little bit, to me, a little mind-boggling in a game that is such magnitude. But I get it. I mean, it's his bachelor party. That's hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime event. I get it. It wasn't a good week for them all to show up. So that's how the way it turned out. But at the end of the day, I mean, the season kind of spoke for itself. There's 8 game sample size, 7 game sample size?
7 games.
So it kind of is where the season left it.
Now, sorry, Sam. I know you have a lot of thoughts on the Steelers. I don't want to talk about the team as a whole. Can you take me inside on your phone? Take me inside your head. Did AB give you a call? What was the how you got traded?
I added back to the Steelers chat after I subbed to them one game.
I need to comment on this. This is done.
I subbed to them one game.
No, pre-trade. I'm talking about when you got traded.
Yeah.
Does AB give you a call and says, "I just shipped you to Green Bay"?
I sent the text to the chat saying we got traded. I didn't even realize that. I wasn't sure who got traded.
So you knew a trade went down, and you said it's probably someone else.
No, I had a feeling it was me. I don't know. I wasn't sure if the text didn't say it clear where I was going. I don't know. I was very confused, but there was a whole hold out. I didn't want to go to the Packers. I was on the phone with Siegel.
You were trying to hold out?
Like I said, I tried to do everything. I told you I tried to do everything.
I got added to the Packers chat.
You left the chat.
I was going to play for them. Yeah, it was the whole thing.
We did it all.
Wait, so Mars gave the edge you to the chat and says, "Welcome to Green Bay," and you said, "I'm leaving. I'm not taking the plane."
I just left the chat. Yeah.
I tried to
hoping that Ellie would pull off a trade, but it didn't work out. And I can call.
Were you happy in Pittsburgh? Were you, did you feel like your role was big enough, or you felt like?
Not at all. Like the game before I got traded, we were down by 5 points or something. We needed a touchdown to score, and I was on the sideline for that last drive. And the last play of the game, somebody dropped the ball, and that was it. I never sat on the side. I've never sat on the sideline for a game-winning drive before. Like,
That must have
some of
been,
you guys.
that must have been a reality check for
Yeah.
sure.
Can I weigh in over here?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. This is not to call out anybody, and anytime you make a trade where you upgrade at QB, I can't really say you lost a trade. So the Steelers they upgraded at QB, so I can't hate them for that. But let's call it what it is. The captain of that team, no disrespect to him, he caught a deep ball touchdown off us, and that's really what he does. He runs deep. That's what he does.
Okay.
He runs deep and asks the QB for a deep.
Sounds a little passive aggressive if you're asking me, but
Just straight up aggressive, no
Okay.
bad. No, but no hate to him. But the reason he traded Sim, and he can call me if he feels I'm wrong about this, I think this is 100% accurate. The reason he traded Sim is because Sim was cutting into his playing time. And the rest of that team started to notice that. They started to say, why are you on the field and Sim isn't? And I'll tell you just from our game against them, Sim came onto the field, and my game plan to my team was, listen guys, this dude has top 1% kind of speed. Just play off coverage. Let him beat us all day on the underneath passes. We're all going to rally and make a tackle. I didn't trust at that point. I didn't think Tamam was just going to dump it down, like short pass. I didn't think that would happen. Sim comes in from 82 drives. Against off coverage, he ran a deep ball touchdown against us. We were, again, the plan was just play off on Sim. Don't let
him beat deep.
And he beat us deep, and not by a step. He beat us by about 4 or 5 steps. And the next week he gets traded, and now if you notice, their captain is in on every offensive drive. Again, to me, it just looks like he wanted to. He wanted to eliminate his threat in the room.
Right. So you thought he was not, but he's the captain, so he gets to choose who's playing. So why is that a threat?
I think it just looks
That's
bad.
stacked. There's no room for anybody to say.
Right. There's no room for anybody. Right. That's true. I mean, he's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I'm saying he has top 1% kind of speed. He does. It's hard to stick with him. He's fast, and I think AD noticed that. And again, he upgraded at QB, so I'm not overall hating on the trade, but I'm absolutely saying that the motivating factor was the fact that, listen, I can't put this kid on the sideline. I think it was absolutely a motivating factor.
Do you think he sold Sim high enough? Do you think he got enough in return?
What was the other piece of that trade? Because I wasn't as so familiar
So it
with
was
that part.
Sim and who was the other guy in your team?
Adis, the blonde.
Joey Adis, the lineman.
Okay, right, yeah.
So he went to Green Bay. Green Bay obviously wanted him, and Joey Adis went to Minnesota. Do you think that they could have got more back in return? They got Zach Hassan, and they got Erwin Sutton.
So Zach Hassan's the one player in this league I never faced because
He was traded.
Right. And I faced the
So you faced him on twice.
I faced him on twice. I faced Zach 0 times. But I'm very like in football. When it comes to football, I'm very QB focused. Like if you upgrade at QB, I really cannot hate on your move. Because QB really does affect so many different areas.
Well, we saw 6 teams made the playoffs. Made arguably the 6 best quarterbacks. We know the Raiders were a mess with their quarterback situation. And Tamam, it just felt like he couldn't figure it out in time. He had a big week the week before, but he it was just too much up and down.
He definitely has talent.
I think he needs more time.
Correct.
I think he's got a few more years under his belt. He'll be all right. But to your point, I think having a QB, it was going to carry you. It was going to get you into the playoffs.
And that's why I won't hate on the deal. Even though I value Sim a lot, I won't hate on that deal. I think overall they improved their upside. It's very how many teams win a Super Bowl without a top QB? It's very hard. So they got themselves a QB who I've only seen really a little bit, but it looks like he has a good arm. Looks like he calls good plays. Him and Sammy definitely have upped the production from what it was before. So overall, I would say they improved their team only because the QB touches the ball on every snap.
That's expert analysis from Mr. Siegel over here. Let's step back a little because I know it seems like you guys are liking the analyzation of trades here. Give me your analysis. I'm going to grill you now. Give me your analysis on the trade that Isaac was made before week 1. Isaac Beta for Ralph Hannon.
You want me to be dead honest?
I want you to be dead honest.
This is not going to be a popular take, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I thought, again, no disrespect to Meat. I think he's a great player and an amazing offensive lineman. But I thought that the two-way value that Ralph Hannon gives you, plus the return they could have gotten for Meat at the time when he was leading the league in sacks and he was absolutely killing it on the offensive line, I think they should have traded Meat, kept themselves Ralph Hannon, and brought themselves a package in return. And the reason why is because Hannon is so much faster than him on the defensive line. I faced him once against the Packers. He's so much faster, plus he still has some of that strength that Meat has.
So you think that Ralph Hannon should have been drafted before Meat, arguably?
In retrospect, I believe that, yes, absolutely. Because he brings you two-way value.
But who's taking Meat there? You know what I mean? Who to say that you could trade Meat for Meyer Casson? I don't know if Joe Anis would have done that. You know what I mean? Like, where was Meat's value at that point?
You did see the Vikings go ahead and trade for an offensive lineman later on in the season, so there's no telling what they would have done at that time for the top offensive lineman in the league. There's no way to know.
He did. I don't want to discredit Meat though. He did lead. He was tied for the lead. Him and Billy tied for the lead in sacks.
And you know what? I might be a little more leaning towards the faster defensive lineman since I am a little bit more mobile of a quarterback. So I agree. Against less mobile quarterbacks, Meat would get. He does get a high production of sacks. I just know that against the more mobile quarterbacks, and not
talking about yourself.
I'm not no, for real. There's Elliott, who's too mobile. Ike's running good touchdown.
I in the highlight video, I mentioned how Ike arguably runs better, and he shouted it at me and said, "What does that mean? I can't throw the ball." And I really meant it as a compliment. I meant to say like he's a great runner. Everyone doesn't expect it. I mean, the guy is 50 plus.
Huge. Then you have Joe G, who's super mobile. You have Tamam, who I saw in like week 1 or 2 make an incredible shifty move on someone. So there's a lot of mobile QBs in this league. And at the end of the day, when you have the speed on the defensive line plus the strength, it brings a lot.
So you're valuing the speed over.
I'm just bringing the two-way value over what I would say is more one-way value.
Well, let's talk about the return they got that Elliott brought in. He brought in Isaac Beta, who's arguably his #1 weapon this year.
I would agree.
So to me, that's where Elliott. I guess to me, they both won the trade. It was one of those perfect situations where each team got exactly what they needed. I don't think Elliott Sackett needed Ralph Hannon. As good as Ralph Hannon is, I think he's fine with Sammy Sackett.
It was an overkill of the same kind of skills with him and me. Really.
Exactly. And he had Sammy Sackett, who no one knew about. Another 7th round steal, who had a big season on the line. So it's interesting to hear that you're saying that Ralph Hannon had more value than.
I also think he could have brought a bigger return because Meat was that first round pick. Anytime you put a first rounder on the market, I mean, look what Puka got, right? I mean, anytime you put a first rounder on the market, you're going to get interested teams that are going to offer you something in return. It's a first rounder.
Interesting. I think they both.
Or he was the first pick of the second round.
He was yeah.
The double.
8-9 wrap.
There you go.
So basically the same thing.
Right.
I think that people weren't so high on Meat. I think that now, post 2021 season, I think there's going to be a lot of linemen high. I think Ralph Hannon is going to be a 2nd round pick. I think that Billy Dan is going to be a 2nd round pick again. I think Meat will be a 2nd round pick.
I agree.
I think
I'm not discrediting Meat.
No, I know you're not. I know you're
Absolutely
not. But I think that Elliott was valuing Meat and saying no one knows that you need a lineman. And maybe he wasn't saying that Ralph is going to be a great lineman.
I don't know that he's seen Ralph play football. Has he seen Ralph play football?
He knows Ralph. I don't think he saw Ralph. I think he knew him on
Sebastian.
Exactly. He actually tried to get that jersey. We banned it from the football field to go score.
Okay. I like that. He can do the 52 Clay Matthews.
That's a good one. I wish you knew about that earlier, but
I'll tell you one thing about Hannon. The value that he brought to the Packers is so one of the zones they play is the 3-2 zone, the 3 up front, 2 deep.
Why don't you tell the people this?
I'll tell the people. I have no problem.
ABC is listening. He already heard you call him out. Now he's listening to your help.
I think you'd agree with everything I called him out. I think if he has an honest moment, he'll agree. He's a captain of a team. He wasn't there on a bye week, But anyways, Ralph Hannon has in that 3-2 zone. He's the only defensive lineman. Now, if you don't have speed there and you're the only defensive lineman,
they don't play that zone.
Correct. And you heard it from Simmons on the Packers and running a big key of that defense. If you don't have a fast defensive lineman in that situation, the quarterback has all day because it's a one-man pass rush. It doesn't allow you to get 3 back and then 2 deep. So he literally adds to their playbook an entire zone. That there's a real value there. So that's why if you think I'm overrating what he brings, it's really just it's an entire play that he brings to their playbook that's been effective for them.
So what you're saying is really telling me a lot about yourself because you're saying how important linemen are, but yet we all know that Stokes was the one who traded away the linemen. So we obviously know that you think you're better than everyone else in the league and that you're the only one who doesn't need a lineman. I think Sim agrees also. He just doesn't want to say it out loud.
Are you asking me about the trade and why we made that trade? Is that what's going on over here?
I'll ask you in a minute. I'll give you a minute to think about it. All right, let's get into the last matchup. So like I said earlier, the Seahawks-Vikings, biggest matchup of the day. Vikings win, they're in. Seahawks win, they got the 1 seed. Vikings win because of results earlier would give Sim and the Packers a bye. And it didn't seem like the Vikings ever got comfortable in this game. They scored 8 points total to the Seahawks 25. They had a lot of opportunity that it seemed like they got the ball and like they were hyped. They joined like let's go, and then 1, 2, 3, and it was turnover on downs, and they got 3 yards maybe. So what was the mindset coming in? Because I know I said it on the prediction show. I thought the Vikings were going to win this game. I still think that I still don't understand how the Vikings only scored 8 points, just how good their weapons were. I guess what was the game plan defensively? Because you had to go against Meyer and Buka. So what were you guys thinking about?
Our game plan defensively was more to give a young quarterback, right, and Tamam, a talented quarterback, just to give him multiple looks so he doesn't know exactly what's coming. So we mixed in a few different of our defenses that we've been running, and defensively they tried Vic Abadi a couple times deep, and you were watching the game. He made a couple big plays on those could have been game-changing plays. Our sub, we're missing Elliott Sharia big time. Obviously, he's been a key for us. Our sub Rocky had made a couple big tackles in big spots, and that really helped us on the defensive line just secure Tamam in the pocket, so we wouldn't be able to run for a big game. So just mixing a couple different things defensively. We had a lot of faith in Marty and Steven to step up, and they did. Steven was called out in the prediction show. I have to call that out.
No problem. I said Steven.
You said I hope you prove me wrong. You said that, and he did.
He had a great game defensively. I think you guys sort of shied away from putting him a one-on-one with Myers, so I won't give him full props.
I won't comment on the defensive game plan. I want Marty to be.
But he did have a big day offensively, and he made a nice interception, so he did show up. Sim, Seahawks 1 seed. I know you guys beat them. Are you scared of them, or nothing to worry about?
I wouldn't say it's nothing to worry about. Definitely our zone that we played against them, TC was happy guy once we beat him once. He's sitting there on YouTube after the game. How do we beat this? So it's definitely going to be tough how we're going to guard Marty and stop him, but we'll figure it out. I'm not worried.
If I can just comment on that loss.
The 19-13 loss. So what excuse are you going to pull out now?
No excuse. They played great, and they did a good job of showing us a defense that we haven't seen the rest of the season. But I will say that in the next 3 weeks after that, everyone tried copying what they were doing, and it hasn't worked great.
They've been playing 3-2 or 2-2?
They've been doing both, but a lot of 3-2.
Teams started playing 1 on line 3 and then 2.
Yes,
well, they don't have
parts of
they don't have
it hasn't
on the
worked
line.
yet. They have other good players on the line as well. But I would say also that in overtime, we had 2 opportunities to win the game. Again, regardless, not that the game ever should have gone to overtime, not that I should have played the way I played.
We got 3, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, 3 interceptions that game. They did a great job of masking different looks.
Our zone fell through 1 play.
Their zone fell through in overtime. I pumped short. I threw deep.
Steven dropped it. Is that what? Steven dropped it, right?
I don't call any names over here, but
he admitted it. Don't worry. He texted me later.
All I'm saying is that I don't want them to be cocky about this because they easily could have lost that game. They should be proud of the way they played. They did play great defensively, but I definitely think it'd be a good matchup if we play again. And I hope they play the same defense. I'm looking forward to showing that
shredding it.
We're not a one-dimensional team and we could face any defense. I hope they play again if they face us.
So in this game, like I said, the Vikings just couldn't get anything going. They had 1 play where, like I said, they scored 8 points. 1 touchdown came on a Buka, 20-yard pass that turned into a touchdown. Poor tackling. I don't know if you missed the tackle.
Yes.
And then Josie had a nice block. But besides for that, it just didn't seem like the Vikings offense, was clicking. I don't know if it was. Do you think it was your defense, or do you think that the Vikings their offense just doesn't?
I think we definitely confused them defensively. I saw him hesitating a couple of times where he thought it was there, but then it wasn't there. I think we just did a great job, and one of the most overlooked defenders in the league. Somehow, the number 3 pick, Marty, is being overlooked, but he's being tremendously overlooked all season. He just doesn't get targeted, and therefore the stats aren't going to be there with the 8 interceptions that Sim
So
has.
it's like Revis Island,
It's like
0
Revis Island
interceptions, but no catches.
Absolutely, because he's been beat for a touchdown I think once this season, and it's like QBs know that, they're aware of that, and they're really defaulting to their second and third options because they know.
So what you're saying is that Sim Fuchs only gets a lot of targets and interceptions because
Sim plays in the zone. So Sim plays in the zone, so therefore, whether you're targeting him or not, he's reading you and he's going there. So
Yeah,
you don't need to
The
target.
last game against Man was rough.
what happened in that game? Was that Steven?
Torque blew me up. Like 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has that on repeat.
Yeah.
Um,
To my defense, I never played against a stiff arm before.
Right.
Stiff
Stiff arm
arm,
and flag arm, I rated for
like
that.
five
you guys
yard
don't play
pass.
stiff arm in your league?
No, because it's very shady what's a stiff arm and what's a flag arm.
So
So
it's sort of just
it puts
keep
the onus on the refs to like.
Touchdown for 5-yard passes.
I don't know. To me,
Stiff arm to the
if
ground.
you're playing flag with no stiff arm, then you're playing two-hand touch.
Well, what's
No.
Because how are guys missing flags?
What's the difference between a stiff arm and a flag guard?
Flag guard's a little lower, more like
Right, but
better.
you're putting the onus
it's
on the
a
refs.
tough call to make, but it just I can't imagine playing without stiff arms.
And you know what? It does bring an element to the game that I enjoy. It brings
More
an
physical.
added physical element. You know, it's fun. I agree with you on that.
I know Joe G loves the stiff arm. He put like 6 kids on the floor this year.
Joji ran for 2 touchdowns against us. Again, if we had Elliot Sharia, who you don't value enough to give us a good sub for, if we had Elliot Sharia there, I don't think he runs for either one of those 2 touchdowns. Elliot hasn't missed a flag on the season. And
Well,
that guy's overlooked. He's an overlooked player in this league.
He's for sure an overlooked player. Getting back to this matchup, so Marty sort of had a quiet day. I guess that's really because they were focusing on him. He had one nice catch.
Deep ball.
He had a deep ball, and then he had one where I think it like popped up in the air and he grabbed it on the 1-yard line.
Right.
And then Steven sort of, or I don't know who scored the touchdown after which one. I know you had a few rushing touchdowns.
He had a slant and a few hitch routes. He had 6 catches. It's not like, he didn't do anything.
Quiet day overall for Marty's,
Marty's
for
stand.
PPR
Okay.
with touchdowns and bonuses and stuff like that. I want to give a shout out. I said this on the Insta Live. I thought that your play call, I don't know, you said that you didn't do it intentional. I don't know what you did. So you guys needed a touchdown. I think it was 4th and goal. Touchdown puts the game away, and you call Marty in motion, so Meyer follows, giving yourself the whole way open.
So what happens? I didn't know whether or not Meyer would follow. That depends on whether it's man or zone. If they're in zone, he's not following.
Right.
So really, the play call was to run up the middle, right?
For you, it was
I was gonna run
designed to
straight.
run up the middle through the
Once
zone.
I saw Meyer following,
You
I
knew it was
realized
man.
that's a man defense. There's no one left on that side of the field. I'm going to take off.
I thought that was that to me that's a play that separates like a quarterback from a top quarterback. You know what I mean? To be able to see that
That
and to
play
develop that.
separates Siegel from the rest of the QBs in this league.
Appreciate that.
I agree. I mean, it's up to the voters to see if
There's good QBs
it's up
in this league.
to the voters to see if that's the
I
case.
don't know if them that would think about that whole.
I put a lot of time into it. There's no question about it.
But I just want to give a shout out to that because I thought that was a great play call. I think I've been impressed the entire year. Like when we used to play in DSN, all of us, the same boys forever, it was just like, all right, you run there, you run there, you run there. You know what I mean? We're not calling out press coverage or cover 2 or, So I think that you're far and above with experience and football knowledge. I think that the one place you have to catch up is just knowing the guys.
Right.
I think that's probably your toughest challenge in the league is just
Absolutely.
you don't know who you can trust, who you can target, who you can rely on. I think that'll come with experience. I know you want to captain your own team one day. I'm sure that's in the plans. Siegel I'm sure you do. He tried to get it this year. We just couldn't because we knew we didn't know the guys. I'm sure he would have drafted Sim first round like Marty didn't. So the Seahawks beat the Vikings 25-8. So now you guys have the bye. You go on vacation. Sim, let me ask you a question. Let's take us back 3 weeks. Joey Harriman, lineman of the Seahawks, gets traded out for Stephen Levy. Do you think that the Seahawks made a smart move there? I know we talk about this every week, but it's just such a big part of the season that we have to talk about it. And now that Ellie's here, I have to talk about it even more.
Every week is different, honestly. Sometimes Ellie needs the line, sometimes he needs a second weapon, honestly. If you double team Marty, you need a second weapon. If you give Ellie a second weapon, he's way more dangerous. And if he trades away a lineman, he's more mobile that he could make things happen with a second lineman. So for him, I see why he did it.
Ellie, take us inside the locker room. The day it was, I don't know the date of heart, but I know Marty was. No, this trade happened before Marty. Marty was part of the trade, right? It happened the day before the deadline. Yeah, it was the day before the deadline, so Marty was still, because I know on the deadline day he wasn't around.
Right, we didn't make anything on that day.
Yeah, so what was the conversation like? Marty called you called Marty.
Okay, so I'll start with this. First of all, Joey was a great player, a great teammate for us. And the best locker room guy in the league, for sure up there. I think he should have been on that ballot. For us, this is really what it came down to. Okay, follow with me over here because there's a lot.
Sure.
Okay, if we remove Joey Ironman from our team, what position do we downgrade? Offensive line. That's one position, right? By adding Stephen Levy to our team, what position are we upgrading? We now upgraded our cornerback 2, right, behind Marty and Stephen. Our wide receiver 2, you have Marty and Stephen, right? We upgraded our wide receiver 3, now Victor slides down to the 3. Our cornerback 3, Victor slides down to the 3. And our defensive line gets upgraded as well, because now we have me.
Why does your defensive line get upgraded?
Because we get me, Albert, and Easter, as opposed to Albert being back in coverage. I like his fit much better with us on the defensive line. Not that Albert can't play coverage, he had a couple big games in coverage, but on the defensive line, I felt that there was more value. So when you're upgrading 5 positions and you're downgrading 1, and that one position that we're downgrading just puts the onus on me. So as a leader on a team, one of the leaders on our team, I do feel that, if I could take on a little more responsibility and improve 5 other positions, seems like something I have to do. Even though it is more challenging in certain weeks, especially when you're facing great defensive linemen, it becomes more challenging. It kind of is what it is, and it's a gamble that I felt was necessary to make.
So Marty came to you and said, "Do you want to do it or not?" Is it I'm doing it? Are you in? What was that like?
So me and Marty and Elliot discussed it together. We have a chat, and we discussed it together.
You have a chat, just you 3?
Correct. We do.
Do the other Seahawks know about this chat?
Of course. Everything is open knowledge.
I don't know how I feel about that. Sam, how do you feel about that? Imagine Ike Morris and Zach
it's
in the chat.
the only things that are going on that chat are just plays, that kind of stuff. That once we come down to the bottom line, then we put it on the main chat, and everyone gets their 2 cents, what they feel about it.
Got it. Okay.
Take me a little inside the Seahawks locker room.
I appreciate the in-depth perspective here.
Absolutely. And again, no disrespect to Joey. I thought Joey was great for us, and he did good things this year.
Honestly, I never thought about it that way, but I mean, what was your record before when you made the trade? You were 2-1?
I don't read into record as much as everyone else, but we were 3-0.
You were 3-0.
Yeah.
Undefeated. You
Lost
traded.
after the first game.
So did you hear what Stephen Levy told me, or you haven't heard?
I have not heard it.
You haven't. So post that game, I guess the game that he dropped the winning touchdown is what you're saying.
Victor was missing that game.
Victor was away, but I'm saying Stephen missed the game-winning touchdown, right?
There was a drop touchdown.
He knows it. He admitted it. You can say it. So he actually texted me because me and him were close, and I texted him and I said, I think this is a bad trade for you guys, because he texted me, "Let's go," when he got traded. He was pumped that he got traded. And I said, I don't know how happy you should be. And he had 2 touchdowns that game. And after the game, he texted me. He goes, "You're right," meaning he thinks that it was a bad trade. Now, I obviously he probably disagrees with that now that you're the 1 seed, but I think that I think that you guys are in a much. I think you guys are 7-0 if you don't make that trade. As crazy as it is, I know you're the 1 seed and it's the same game at the end of the day, but the game against the Packers, I feel like, 3 interceptions, which is unlike you. Having Stephen clearly didn't help. You know what I mean?
Well, it clearly did.
Because he had the 2 touchdowns. I know he did have the 2 touchdowns.
They played his own against us, and they at all times had at least one person glued to Marty and at least one person over the top on Marty, which meant you don't have Marty, Siegel. What else could you do, right? And Stephen had those 2 touchdowns. If I don't have Stephen,
did he burn Sim on one of those? I think, or no?
Who?
No, he didn't burn. Yeah, I forgot who it was.
If I don't have Stephen there, the question becomes what my weapons are, and Vic was missing that game as well. So really, what are my options at that point? I could have an offensive line from today till tomorrow.
I could potentially play well weeks 2 and 3.
Right.
He deserves some targets.
Ike deserves anything. Ike has been great. Ike had a tough matchup with Ralph Hannon. Ralph Hannon is a tough matchup. I'm just going to be honest about that. But Ike has played great for us all season, whether it was at tight end, whether it was at defensive line, whether it was at offensive line. He's been great for us all year. And contrary to popular belief, he's actually a good locker room guy.
I was about to ask you on that.
He actually is a good locker room guy once you get to know him. I would say that. Stephen, I would just say with him pointing out that he felt that it wasn't a good trade. Stephen is one of the most humble guys in the league, and he doesn't see the value that he has as much as I see his value. So for him to say that doesn't really surprise me much, but it also doesn't change my opinion at all. Like I explained to you earlier, I'm upgrading five
Five
positions. The
versus
difference is
one.
I have to run around a little more.
So if it was, let's say you were Marty, right? Let's flip positions. You're Marty, Marty's you. Marty's playing quarterback. Now you're betting on Marty to be that upgrade. Are you making that bet?
You're gonna have to walk me through that one more time.
No problem. You're saying I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to take that the accountability on the fact that there's not going to be as good of a line because I trust myself.
Right.
If let's say Marty was the quarterback and you were in Marty's position, and Marty came to you and said, "Do you want to do this trade?" Now you have to rely on Marty to play better as that, take that accountability. Would you be betting on someone else, or is it just the fact that you're betting?
Well, I will say that, like I said, Marty and Elliot were in on the decision, so that means that they bet on me as well, and I appreciate that. I take that seriously, and I try to live up to that.
Make them look good.
I try to, yeah. I mean, obviously that Packers game's a real stain on that. It was a tough game, and it could have gone either way. I think both teams would agree either team could have won that game. They had a little bit more magic that day, and they won that game. But overall, I'm just being honest with you, I've never once doubted the decision on the trade. I 100% feel it put us in a much better position. If you think about it, the top teams in this league have two threats, and in order to guard two threats, you need two people that can really line up with, elite level receivers, and that's why we did it.
Okay, I appreciate the analysis there. Let's move on to the prediction show, which will start in a little bit. I want to give each of you closing thoughts. Sim, heading into this week. Don't give me any prediction. Just how's your team feeling going into divisional weekend?
We like where we're at. We beat them once. We can do it again. We have our defense set up. We got Sammy on lock. We have our defense.
Sammy on lock. Okay, nice prediction right there.
Yes, sir. I like where our team's at. We have a stacked roster as we spoke about before, 1 through 7. Well, now that we're one man short, we gotta find a sub. But we like where we're at. We like our team, and we're ready to go.
And Ellie, any plans for this Sunday morning? Taking the wife out? What are you guys doing?
So I know Marty and Elliot are actually going to be at the game. I might join them. I'm not sure yet how my plans are shaking out for Sunday. But one thing I'd say about their game that they had is Ike threw a pick 6, and Sammy caught a jump ball at the 50-yard line. So there were a couple of plays there that don't necessarily happen again that might make this game a little bit.
We did have a fumble recovery in the end zone to make that pick 6 up, but
you know what? I take that back. But I mean, I think these teams played very
close
last time.
So you're not sure if you're going to be there yet?
But
I mean, Ike had a 4th and 20 conversion to Zach and Citron, which to me never happens again. I mean,
we did it.
How do you let someone go?
Well, let's save this for the next show.
You're right.
I don't want to get a hold of ourselves.
Lot Bite's here, so let's.
Lot Bite is here. We will see you.